Welcome, PBO people, to week 7, or week 8 powering, excuse me. It is the last game before playoffs. They haven't been played yet, but weeks 5 through 7 we're going to go over here. I'm joined by Ben
What up?
and Za.
We're back, almost playoff time.
And I'll just throw it to Ben to start us off at number 14. What do we got?
All right, so we're gonna start the power rankings immediately. Here at number 14, we've got the Lion City Leech Life. So there's no absolutely just 0-17 this season, and this is just straight up probably the worst performing team. I do think that Lion City, the past 3 weeks have been a bit rough. Got thrashed by Iron Crown. Garden City kind of had their way, and then a really close one against Woopers, who used Terra Bug Colossal really effectively against him to kind of wall the end game. I think Lion City probably could have won that end game if he played around the end game, if he played around the Colossal a little bit better. Maybe brought Iron Moth out sooner on it instead of bringing out Mamoswine. I think the sequencing at the end of that game was a little bit out of sorts. I think maybe I'm interested to see, because I'm pretty sure Lion City's like confirmed because of his differential and stuff. I mean, maybe if he wins this last week and Metal and the other 2-5 team, Crown Point, both lose, he technically wouldn't relegate, but I'm interested to see him in Sunset if he does relegate, because I think maybe this season he was a little just out of his depth, if I had to guess. He had 2 decent weeks in the middle there, and things were kind of on the up and up, it looked, but the past 3 weeks have shown, I think we said this at the very beginning, this team, like, on paper, because I think this team got ranked like 12th or something at the very beginning. On paper, it's good. It's just ever so slightly outclassed in like every category. Like everything's just a little bit too weak, a little bit too frail. Like it's just a little bit not there in every single way. And I think without an overwhelmingly good team, maybe like he just makes like 1 or 2 mistakes every week that really just lead to his downfall. Without a team that's like really, really solid, that kind of thing can happen. What do you think, Zah?
Well, I believe we said before the year that a team like this loses a lot of games 1-0 and 2-0, even if you play relatively well. So this team isn't good enough to make 2 or 3 mistakes per game. To be fair to my man, this was the Iron Crown game was the freeze game where the Dunsparce got frozen, and I'm assuming he was trying to phase it out, which is why he got swept. And I mean, yeah, you should try to switch out, but if you have nothing else to do, you have nothing else to do, right? So that was a little bit unfortunate. And then here, the Natty game, Wooper's team is significantly better than his team, like significantly better. I don't know why it doesn't look like they brought Valiant to this game. I don't know that there's almost ever an explanation for that, but they won, so maybe this game shouldn't have been as close, but even like playing this team with the team Shadow has to a 1-0 is almost a victory. So I would say Lion City, I think, has gotten a little. I think there are ways this season could have ended up better for them. I don't think that they're like actively the worst coach in the league. I think this is just a middling team, and when you get a couple of 1 or 2 misplays a game plus some bad luck, you end up 2-6. So I think our analysis was pretty much spot on at the beginning. Is that if this team would need a really good, consistent pilot to even end up like 5-3, because it just was at a talent discrepancy the majority of the year.
Yeah, it's not even necessarily that the team is bad. Like I've seen worse constructed teams. It's just
average.
It's just average to slightly below average. Like all the guys are just slightly too weak. And then like the Garden City game, it kind of just showed there. You just didn't have the power to really break through Aloe, and like she could kind of just do whatever she wanted, and then she kind of just commanded the game with Terraquaquavel at the end, because Terraquaquavel's better than any of the guys you have by a pretty wide margin. And then it really just ends up in an unfortunate situation. So, like, I don't necessarily blame Lion City for how this city has gone, like, himself for how the city has gone. I don't think he's necessarily piloted it horrible. I think he's had some good ideas. some weeks. I really like the Scarf Mamoswine that one week that he won. It's just
the Philly game.
yeah. It's just he couldn't really, put it all together in time. And this last week, I mean, if he wins, that would be fun. It would be cool, and it would make him avoid demotion, so he does have something to fight for. But or at least has a chance to avoid demotion. But it's just really, it's looking unlikely. It's Chimps as the last opponent. I mean, maybe. Yeah, unfortunate season all around. I think we can move on. All right, at 13 we have Crown Point. Very similar to Lion City. I think these two moved up and down in like the exact same way, in which they started off rough, then they kind of rebounded, and then they kind of just collapsed again in on themselves. The Hydrapple has been fun. The Hydrapple's been really cool. The last 3 weeks, he's kind of just gotten beaten. There's really no other way to put it. Like this last week against Gray, he just kind of got beat down by Walking Wake. The positioning, he was down the whole time. His team is really fat, but they kind of just take hits and then they don't fight back most of the time, is what I've seen. Like, he just doesn't do the damage back, so he's just taking hits over and over. He gets weakened, and then eventually he just loses, which is, really, really unfortunate. The Philly game, again, another case of where, like, he's just exchanging damage back and forth, but he's taking consistently more damage because his guys are weaker, like, and they're fatter, but he's just consistently taking more damage over and over and over. And there's a lot of turns in his games where, like, nothing's happening, and, like, he's not making any progress. And if you're not making any progress, then the opponent usually is making progress. And I feel like that's happened multiple times now, where he kind of lets the opponent just do what they want while he sits there. And then eventually all his guys get whittled down and he kind of just loses. What do you think, Sa? I don't think there's really much to say. I think the team itself is probably one of the weaker teams. Yeah. I do like to see the Terra captains, though.
Yeah, for this some of the low guys, it's more of like a season review. Since the next time we talk, it'll probably be playoffs. So Chiyu Sun, that was this team originally, which is not good, and we said that in the preseason rankings. It's just not very good. At least not at a high level of play against really competent people. I think I would probably rather play with what he has now, but this also isn't very good. Like the Mega Ice Week team. So, there's only so much anybody's going to be able to do with this. We have limited transactions. He wanted to change the whole team. And I think he's been having fun, which at the end of the day is the most important part, bringing the offensive Gliscor, doing things with the Hydrapple. But he ran into better teams in Philly, and then, Gray is very good. So even though Gray's team honestly is kind of a hodgepodge too, he just piloted a little bit better. That's really all there is to say.
Like, I'm looking at this Philly game, and it's exactly like I said. It's just anything that has, like, recover, because his guys are fat and, like, don't necessarily have the recovery. Like, Hydrapple can run recover, but he wasn't, and Registeel kind of has to run rest. So, like, I'm looking at this Philly game, and what's happening is, first he got Hazard stacked, which is really unfortunate, because his spinner is Toedscruel. And then he, kind of just sat around for a while, and then just started taking overwhelming amounts of damage from, like, Urshifu. And then Golden Go kind of just sat around and spammed recover while whittling everything down with Shadow Ball, and there was, like, nothing he could do. I just feel like his damage output wasn't enough this season.
Yep.
Alright. We can move on. This one I'm really sad about. The Hallownest Heracross. I really wanted to put Metal higher. The only reason I can't is because I think he's, like, one of 3 teams that are, like, mathematically eliminated. Like, it's impossible for him to get in to playoffs. So I really can't justify putting him any higher. I still think the team is very good. I stand by that. I still think the team is really, really solid. he forfeited 2 weeks, which I hate. I think he forfeited against Mary and Tottenham, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
Really think if he fought both of those, he probably wins one, and he's 3-4. And I think he has a really good shot against Orlando to make playoffs. And I think we'd be having an entirely different conversation, because he went up against G-Shar this last week. He played the game, and I thought he commanded it perfectly. He had control basically the whole time. He made all the predictions correctly. And he played how I know he can play. I mean, if you look at his 2 wins, they're against 2 of the top players in the league right now. I really feel like if he just didn't forfeit those 2 games, he really had a really good shot. So it's just really unfortunate. Because I think he could have won both those games, if I'm being honest. And then he'd be 4-3 right now. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I think the team's good. I think the player's good. Just a really unfortunate beginning of the season into end of season double forfeit. I don't have much to say. I mean, his play against Jashar I thought was very solid play all around. What do you think, Zah?
Yeah, we've seen Metal play before. Like, if we're being honest, he just didn't put in the effort. Like, that's just what it comes down to. Like, in theory, the team should be one of the best, and if he was in the playoffs, he would definitely have like a decent amount, like 15-20% chance to win. But it's hard to evaluate anything because, like you said, he forfeited 2 weeks. So we can only talk about, in theory, what could have been. But you said in his showings against people who have high chances of winning the championship, or in terms of chimps, like probably my pick to win, he won. So if he was in it, he would be a factor. But 2 forfeits, that's what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, I do think he would have a good chance to win if he made playoffs. It's just an unfortunate situation. If he was 3-4, he'd probably be up in like the 7 range. So that shows you how high he could jump if he just had a chance to make playoffs. But he doesn't,
Yeah.
So kind of force capped him here. So next up, we got Philly, who kind of clutched up 2 wins the past 2 weeks to really get his chances into getting into playoffs. Really close wins against the Lopunnies and the Cetitans. I watched both these games, and I think he played pretty well. He played pretty well in both. He's really leveraging Urshifu really, really well. His unaware guys did a really good job at stopping any setup that Mary wanted to do. If Mary had like some move to hit Urshifu single strike in that game, from what I remember, she probably won. But he did. He was in control for a good chunk of that game, and I was pretty impressed with that. He adores Quagsire. If you see it, I've never seen someone bring Quagsire to 6 games. He's brought it more than Clefable. He's brought it more than Bax. He's probably the same amount as Golden Go and Urshifu single strike. Like, this is like a top 3 round pick for him. Tentacruel's come to 1 game. Quagsire's come to 6. I still think this team is really, really good. It's just he's lost like a few games. Like against Vancouver, I think he got thoroughly outplayed. I thought Vancouver played that game really well. But the past 2 weeks, he's positioned himself so that if he wins this last game, he has a chance. It's not, like, guaranteed, but he has a chance at least. There's a lot of... I mean, I'll go fully into it later, but basically the way I ordered these next few guys is kind of the chances that they make playoffs. I think Philly has the least likely chance out of all these people because he plays Garden City. I think Garden City is a pretty good player. And also because of just the way the other games work, which is the super important games are Vancouver versus Tottenham, me versus Gray, the Blackthorn City Crashers, and then Garden City versus Philly is also very, very important. Those are kind of like the big ones. But, yeah, in terms of, like, his last 2 weeks, I've been impressed. I like how things have been going. I think the team is still really good. He hasn't made too many changes. I don't think he needed to make too many changes. What do you think, Zah?
Because of the way that the standings have worked out, yes, it is challenging for Philly to get in. Sometimes even with a win, like even if he wins, he could still not make it. I think that's a possibility,
Yeah,
which is
it's
tough.
very easy. Yeah, it's very easy for him to
I
not make
think
it.
I think realistically, based on the team and the fact that he's learning to play the team, if he does, like I would probably have him a bit higher, only because if he makes it, I think he has this like a top 5 chance of actually winning. Just because of how good the team is and he's on a roll, and I think he's figuring out how to use the Urshifu now as a pressure piece. And then like you said, he could probably build a little bit more momentum than sitting out with the guys, but it's starting to work. At least he's making more progress and leveraging things better. So I think, for instance, we're going to have, I'd probably have him above Tottenham. I don't know if I could put him above Gray, just because if Gray gets in, I think Gray's very good. But I don't think anybody wants to see Philly. Like, if you're one of the top 2 guys, I don't know if you really want to play this team the first round. Like, that seems like a really bad draw, unless you just happen to have a good matchup. So I think Philly could be higher, and he's streaking right now. He's getting hot at the right time. That's standard football stuff, right? It's not who was best the whole season; it's who's best in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. Got to win, Philly.
All right. Next up, a little bit of a surprise one, considering this team is 4-3. So we have the Tottenham Hoothoots, who beat the Saudas Chimps in a very surprising upset. This game is do or die for both these teams. This is probably game of the week, if I had to guess. Tottenham versus Vancouver Valiants. I think whoever wins this game has like Tottenham would be guaranteed. I think Vancouver would have like a 90% something chance of making playoffs. Pretty much if you make it, you're in, kind of thing. Or if you win it, you're in. Or it's something close to that. The team itself, still really not that good. It's still a meme team with the 3 protein guys. But it is working. Against Saudas, I thought it was a pretty, a decently bad choke by Saudas at the very end to, switch Hatterene out and basically sack Araquanid in order to kind of get nothing out of it. Like, there was almost no reason for it. At least with Dreadinkus, he had a pretty good role to win. Bloodmoon's having a very good season, although it's definitely died down a bit. And the Hallownest Heracross game was a forfeit win. So really, it's just that one win against Saudas where I think Saudas choked more than anything. And then he's got 2 1-0 wins at the very beginning of the season. And then 3 pretty bad losses, pretty brutal losses, where he kind of got manhandled a bit. So it's just tough to rank him anywhere like super higher, in my opinion. I think if he does make playoffs, I worry about how that game would actually go. But I do think he's a wild card. I do think with his sets, like any given week, he could win just by bringing something crazy. What do you think, Zah?
Yeah, I mean, Ben just said it. If Tottenham gets in, he can, in theory, beat anybody. Like, when the sets work, they work. It's just, and he has high rolly guys. Like, Bloodmoon is a super high rolly guy, and Terra Greninch is a super high rolly guy. So, in theory, if he hits on one of the things, he can do it. He's got what's called the puncher's chance for any boxing fans. If you have the haymaker, there's always a chance that you can win. But like I don't, only because he has a better chance of getting in. But like I don't think that. Again, I'm just basing it on the team. Like, I think we all know, like, constructed wise, this is just not a good team. I don't care if it was 8-0. I would still say it's just not good. I think Philly has a better chance to win, like if they had the opportunity to. But like Ben said, it's tough to give the Tottenham analysis because this is like not really a standard build, and there's no way to really. This is a Kurthwack-esque situation where you don't really even know what to say because who knows what could even happen. Anything could happen. We could see close combat Bloodmoon. We don't even know. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like, because also the Hallownest Heracross was a forfeit win, so that's not even a win really. So like,
Yep.
I mean, he's got some good wins. Like, all 3 of his wins are against good players. He beat Chimps. He beat Mary.
If we
he
wanted
beat
to
Oranges.
if we wanted to be like Debbie Downers, we could say the game against Oranges and the game against Saudas Chimps. The other team pretty much just like let him win. So without the forfeit, you could say he has one win. Like if we wanted to be, and I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that type of theory. But if somebody wanted to be cynical, you could remember Oranges was the reverse sweep, and then you said that like Saudas pretty much gave him the win, and then one's a forfeit.
Saudas choked at the end for sure, but I do think I think there was a role for him to win anyways. So he played it okay. Like it wasn't terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Saudas brought it from probably like a 60 something or 70% chance for him to win to a 0.
That's a bad trade.
Yeah. I think we can move on.
Yep.
To the Blackthorn City Crashers. This is Gray. Gray is rapidly moving up my rankings right now. He lost only one game because he inherited a 1-3 team. He lost to Woopers. That was with Mary's team, and then not Mary Mug. That was with Mug's team, and then ever since he changed Mug's team to his team, he hasn't lost, and he beat one of the top teams in the Orlando Magikarp. And then he pretty handily took down the Crown Point Cetitans. So we haven't seen a ton from him, but from what I've seen, I've been impressed. I think the team isn't great, but I don't think it's bad. I think it's functional. It's really fat. Walking Wake is like at the epicenter of being the damage dealer of this team. I don't know how good that is. I don't think Walking Wake, like just solo Walking Wake, is that strong of a Pokemon. I think it might be running into good matchups is what's happening. But that's not stopping in week 8, trust me. So we'll see how it goes. I do think this team is like very solid. I like all the Pokemon have a purpose at least, so that's good. It still has like Mug remnants obviously because you can't change everything, especially since he didn't use his his free transactions to do it, so you had to use like his actual transactions to make the changes he made. Yeah, I mean it's solid all around for sure. I do think if he makes playoffs, he has a pretty good chance at causing some chaos. The real issue is, I gotta face him this last week, so ideally he doesn't make playoffs because I do really want to win this game. So, I do think, it's a tough challenge at the end here to have to win this game to make playoffs. But I do think, against Rain, he doesn't have a horrible matchup at all. He doesn't have a Water Absorber or anything, but he's got Chestnut, he's got Blastoise, Wake Quad Resists. So there's some stuff he can do for sure. If he makes playoffs, I really like his chances. This placement is more so, this is the 9th slot, I think. I do think he will probably slightly miss playoffs, or at least, yeah, that's what I'm basing this also off of. And then 8th and 7th is me kind of like predicting who's going to make playoffs. What do you think, Za?
Because Gray is newer to PBO, I'll give Gray has beaten me in a game before and played me to 1-0 in a playoff game. So he's a real guy, and if he gets in the tournament, I do think that he could possibly win. Now, I will say I don't think this team is very good outside of that Tinglu and Petch are really annoying, and Screamtail. That combination of those 3 guys can be annoying. Other than that, I wouldn't, and I like Chestnut, but I wouldn't really want to use this team. But it's just annoying enough and has enough versatility to where somebody who can make it go can win with it, and we're seeing that. I think he has a decent chance of getting in because he has enough annoying stuff for the Rain build that I think he can win the game, and he's probably good enough to have an opportunity to win the game. And then if he gets in, I'm going to let the top seeds know, don't pick this guy. Pick somebody else. You don't want to play this guy. But I wish that he had made a few more transactions because I think he could have built a slightly better team. But he's using the Wake and it's working. So, it's making me eat my words so far. So what can I say? But Gray, if he's in, is a factor. If we're doing title pie, he would have like a 10% chance to win if he's in, I think.
Yeah, I do think he's a factor for sure. A pretty strong factor. It just comes down to this last week, right? We'll see how it goes. We can move on to number 8, where I put the Vancouver Valiants, who's been having a rough 2 weeks the last 2 weeks. He's 3-4, but he's got Tottenham this last week. I really do think he can win that game, and if he does win that game, his chances of making playoffs, I think, are pretty strong. It would really come down to my game against Gray. I really think the last slot's between him and Gray, and I think it kind of comes down to whether I can beat Gray or not, whether Valiance gets in. And obviously he has to beat Tottenham too. So it's really, those 2 games in conjunction are really important for this last spot in the playoffs. I think the team is still, a little bit hodgepodge, but still kind of good. I do like it in theory and construction. This last week, he brought the wrong team against me, unfortunately. It was a really horrible matchup for him. I think there was very little ways out for him. Everything got 2 KO'd by Barraskewda. There was no Pokemon that could actually take 2 hits from it. And then against Worcester, I do think he got outplayed a bit in that game. Pretty strongly, if I'm being honest. But I do think if Vancouver makes it, he has a pretty good shot against almost anyone. Vancouver does have a way of getting a bit lucky, but also punching up. He gives everyone kind of a running shot, and he can punch up pretty hard. I don't know. What do you think, Za? I think he has a pretty solid shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think based on just the way the bracket has come out, I think this is the right placement because he has a better chance of getting in. I will say that, I think he has a better chance of winning than Tottenham, but in theory, if all the teams below this got in, I think I would give Philly or Gray a better chance of winning than Vancouver just because I don't love the team. I feel like you really want to tear the Skeledirge all the time, which defeats the purpose of spending all the points on the Urshi. We've talked about it before. We don't need to talk about this again. But it's Vancouver just in his middle spot. I don't know. There's not really a lot to say about. We shouldn't be this disrespectful. He is the champion.
Yeah,
we respect the champion. We respect the champion.
He is the champion right now. He's got that championship diff. So if he does make it, he's scary for anyone, I'd say.
The pedigree, the championship pedigree, if you will.
All right, I think we can move on. At 7, we've got the Woopers. Woopers have won 4 games in a row. Some really close ones, but some dominant ones as well. Really manhandled Garden City all the way back in week 4. And then he beat Blackthorn. That is a win against Gray. So that's pretty impressive too. Beat Lion City in a close one. Beat Vancouver. Just really doing what he needs to do. Iron Hands has been really, really positive for him. Colossal has been really huge for him. The Terra Colossal is doing some really big things. He's just got a lot of really good guys. Lando Incarnate regular. It's probably more valuable regular than Terra, just because of the points that it costs to Terra it. Has Iron Valiant, has Terra Iron Hands, has Hiram, has Prim. All really solid guys. Empoleon's a good guy, Muck's a good guy. Hisuian Zoroark's also good. The only guy that has almost no value is Leafeon. But even then, he's found a way to bring Leafeon to a game. It's just been ever since he reconstructed his team and got Valiants from Bug, I believe. Things have been really up for him. He's got essentially 2, first round guys, considering he got Valiant in a trade. Although I want to consider Lando a first round guy, so it's really in value 1 first round guy. But he's got a bunch of round 3 guys, round 2 guys, right around there, round 3, 4 guys. And it's made for a really solid team all around, and I think that's reflected in the past 4 weeks. I worry this last week he's against G-Shar. I worry he's going to lose this game, but if he wins it and he goes 5-3 with a positive differential, it's a really positive season overall for Woopers. Really came back from being down 0-3. But, like we said, I think after the week 4, if you look at the 3 teams he lost to, I think those are our top 3 teams. Spoiler alert. So, it's not like he was fighting chumps those first 3 weeks. And ever since he's gotten to this middle of the pack area, he's kind of shown he's at the top of that middle of the pack. And that's kind of where he's landed at number 7. So a really strong team. So far, he's shown to be a pretty good pilot. He's got some really creative sets. Woopers is coming up with some really unique stuff so far this season. I've been impressed for sure with how things have been going. I'm really interested to see how this last week goes. What do you think, Za?
Okay, this is gonna be where the hot take of the video comes in. I think Woopers should win. I think they should win. This is the best team by like outside of the outlier that is Rain, because that's so matchup dependent. I think this is the best team easily, like by a relatively wide margin. And if we didn't know who had this team, you would pick this team to win, right? And it's won every game since it got value. They added to a team that was like we said was middling, was okay. We probably ranked it like 7th. They added the best Pokemon in the format, like arguably the best Pokemon in the format for like nothing, because we don't like Orgerpon grass. We don't think it's good. So they traded something we actively think is bad for the best Pokemon in the format, and moved the Terra onto Iron Hands and essentially made that like what is a round 3-4 pick into like a round 2 value. So we're running Landoi, Kyurem, Iron Valiant, Terra Hands, defensive core of Empoleon and Muck, which is, I wish that a lot of the defense on this team relies on Empoleon. Like, I almost wish Lando I was just Lando T, and I think the team would be like much better. But whatever, we have what we have, right? But a lot of the Stargazer, even the top players, have weird teams this season. So I think that Natty, if you can get in, like if you beat Jachar, I will pick you to win. I promise you. And Soaring, this is a champion, right?
Yeah, he won season 4.
He beat Ben season 4.
This is a champion. We can't forget that this is, in fact, no matter how much people want to deny it, this is a champion. And I promise I'll pick you if you win this week. You should win.
Yeah, Natty's a very real threat, and this team is very, very threatening. And I think the chances he gets in are very high. He would have to, I mean, if he loses badly and like Vancouver wins and Philly wins or something like that, then he would not get in, and that'd be pretty sad considering the comeback he's had so far this season. But yeah, really, really solid state he's in right now. I think even if it's a close loss this last week, he should get in, and I like where he's at. All his games, he's on the up and up, and I think his team's really solid for sure. He's got one of the better Terra guys in Iron Hands for sure.
Also, he is tied for like championship appearances. He was in season 6 Sunset, and he was in the finals then too. Didn't win it, but he was in there.
Wait, we gotta have the low key discussion. If Natty wins the championship, are they the GOAT?
He might. Oh man, there's so many.
We might need to put more respect on this. Is Natty? I don't want to assume. Is he a man?
Yeah, he doesn't talk. He just hops in, plays his games, has some fun, leaves. That's it.
Yeah, we might have to put some respect on this man's name. We've been disrespecting this man for too long. We've been disrespecting him for too long.
I've been a believer, Natty. I've never doubted you ever, except those first 3 weeks. I doubted you.
Soaring was ready to kick you out.
All right, are we ready to move on?
Yeah, we can go to number 6.
Yeah.
I've got Garden City up here, super high. Took a forfeit loss this last week, which is really unfortunate because I think the last 2 weeks, I think Garden City's back. I think after her game against me and then Lion City, she dominated both pretty convincingly. And I think she's gonna beat Philly, and I think it might actually be pretty easily as well. I think Garden City, when she's on her A game, is one of the best players, if not the best player in Stargazer, and I think that really helps regardless of the team. The team itself is okay. It's pretty middling. It's really good against Rain, I'll give it that, because it's got 2 electric types, 3 water types, and like 2 grass types, and a Heatran that can Terra out of being weak to water. So it's a really interesting team. I think Terra Heatran is like insanely good and super underrated, and people don't give it the respect it probably deserves. She's got 3 guys she's never ever brought. She loves Staraptor now, and a Whimsicott that she's barely brought. So it's kind of like she's down to 7 guys because she brings Staraptor every week now, pretty much. But I do think I just so wish she got that Orlando Metrotrip game, because I think she could have won that, and then I think this 6 slot would have been way more justified. I'm calling it. I do think she wins this last week. I think she makes playoffs, and I think you shouldn't pick her. I think she's really, really good. I think the team is super usable. She has 2 incredible Terra captains that make it so she can do whatever she wants. She loves Final Gambit Staraptor, and if she picks off something that's super important for you, like your Quaquaval check, for example, look out. She's going to be in a really scary position, and I think she could pull out the Munkidori or the Magnezone whenever she wants, and they could be kind of effective. But I know Za doesn't like her team as much as I do, so I'd like to hear what he has to say.
Okay, so a disclaimer to that. That was before they changed to Quaquaval, because I think Quaquaval might be the best guy, like up there with Valiant. It's probably the best Terra captain available, or at least one of them. So that makes a big difference. This team just didn't have offense before, and now it has like a major setup threat that it was missing. My question about Oranges is just commitment. Like, they don't seem that into it. Like, just from what I've seen, I don't know what's going on. Like, obviously this isn't the most important thing in somebody's life, but I just haven't felt that they've like been as committed as they were, or maybe they are. Like, I don't know. That's the vibe I'm getting.
I think early in the season I got that vibe. The last few weeks, I feel like she's been pretty committed to it.
If they're in, like, this is another champion, right? So they have the ability to win for sure, as long as they're committed and they're in. Now that they have that Quaquaval threat, I still think like it's not it's not on the level of like OP that the Natty team is, but now this is much better than it was when it started. So this is definitely a threat. Definitely a threat.
Yeah, this team's super scary for sure. I was super impressed with her pet play in like week 5 and week 6, for example. I really wish that Orlando game got played. That would have been a really good to see like where she's at exactly. But yeah, I'm impressed. Number 5, we've got the Lopunnies, the Luscious Lopunnies. I don't think Mary's played bad at all this season. In fact, if you look at most of her games, most of the time she makes the correct play. I think the team is pretty atrocious, and it's let her down. So she loses. She's lost a bunch of close games, and then she lost to Chimps 3-0 because she got crit. So that's unfortunate. I guess if she was 5-2, she'd probably be like higher, and we wouldn't be saying this, because it's hard to say it's a bad. She's 4-3 plus 8. It's hard to say it's a bad season, right? Because she's probably also gonna, most likely win week 8 and be 5-3 plus something. She'll be super positive, and she'll be in playoffs. And overall, it'll be a very positive season. You know what I mean? 5-3 plus like 10 or whatever, or 11 or whatever she gets. Theoretically, that's a really good season, right? So like, I don't hate it. I can't. I mean, maybe we'll get proven wrong. I can't see her winning in playoffs. I think the team is so unmitigatedly mid and very obvious what it wants to do. And she's proven that week in and week out that it's pretty obvious what she wants to do, because she does it every week. And it works an okay amount, but her games are also close a good amount. Her game against Hollow Knight was a forfeit win. So her wins are against Mug, way back when, Lion City. So those were 2 like the more bottom teams. And then G-Shar recently, a very close one against G-Shar. So it's like her best win is against G-Shar. It's like okay, you know what I mean? It's not bad by any means. I get the team in concept. I get what it's going for with the setup Annihilate and the setup Mew and the screens and the rocks from Cleavor, and Serp can also set up, and then Claude stops other people's setup when it's unaware. And Cyclizar's good support. Vaporeon, she's never even brought it.
No Vaporeon here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad team in theory. I just think it's a little too lacking in immediate damage for Gen 9. And I think, like, even if she gets most of the turns right, because it's so lacking in immediate damage, it, makes any kind of luck really, really devastating, as we've seen this season. And 2, makes it very easy to overwhelm her with, say, like an Urshifu single strike, for example. Just because she can't really take the hits. Clodsire, I like it personally, but I do understand why people think it's bad. A lot of the times, as a wall, you bring it in, and then, like, surprise, you get two-shot. Like, it does more than you thought it would. It heavily depends on where you put the investment, and if you get it wrong, you're in for a pretty bad time. What do you think, Zaw?
I mean, it's the same thing we've been saying the whole season, right? Like, this is the difference, though, when we talked about the Lion City team, how this is the same, like, kind of level of team, except Mary historically is one of the better, if not the best PBO player. So even though the team's not good, like, they can still win games. And, like, just spamming setup is going to work. Like, there's not always something you can do about it. Just because you know what somebody's going to do doesn't mean you can actually stop them from doing it. But as Ben mentioned, when you play that many turns, you open your. I mean, it's a standard thing. The more you set up, the more variance you put in the game. This team for Gen 9, as Ben mentioned, puts so many turns and so much variance into the game that it opens up the possibility to get crit, to get hacks. Like, that's what happens when you play a lot of turns. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that some of the things happen, but that's what this is inviting into the team to happen, right? So, listen, she can definitely win. If she wins, I wouldn't be shocked, right? Like, she has as good a chance to win as anybody that we've talked about so far, for sure. But I mean, we said it at the beginning. It's not a good team. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be. It's factually just not good.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a put together team. Like, I get the idea.
That's correct, man. The team exists. It does. That is true.
What I mean is, like, it has a game plan, like, in its construction. Like, because there's a ton of teams that are just hodgepodge together. This team is not hodgepodge together. It very clearly has a concept in its construction. I just think that concept might be too committed to and too not Gen 9 centered. You know what I mean? Like, like, I really like Terra Annihilate, and she's been using it really well. I think Terra Mew has been a bit of a disappointment for her.
I think it's just because Annihilate is so much better, right? That's really what the issue is.
Because they both do a similar thing, and Ape is better, so she just uses Ape for it usually. It's interesting for sure. She's using Azumarill really well again, which she always has done. She has a few Pokemon that she, like, hardly ever brings. Like, she has barely brought Cyclizar, she's barely brought Rotom, and she's barely brought Vaporeon. I'd like to see maybe, like, offensive Rotom a few times. I feel like Rotom is way better offensively, and I think that could put some offensive spark into the game for her. Like Specs or Scarf or maybe Nasty Plot. I believe it gets Nasty Plot.
Yep.
I think, although that's just another setup guy, right? But she did run into Double Unaware this last week, so that's super unfortunate for her.
That was rough. We needed Worry Seed Superior. That was the tech.
I think we can move on.
Yep.
Number 4, I got the Jirachi All-Stars, G-Char. Picked up Bandito's team, quickly got a 6-0 victory with the Iron Crown, and then two quick losses to two good players in Mary and what's it called? In Mary and
Metal.
Yeah. So I think the play's been pretty okay so far. I don't think anything's been necessarily bad or anything. He did just get the turns wrong, like, because there's, like, always, you know, people say 50-50s in Pokemon. There's always on every turn a chance to get it wrong, like when you have to make a play or, like, make a prediction of some sort. They're not all, but I wouldn't call them 50-50s. A lot of them are, like, a lot of the turns that Metal got right, I would say, were in Metal's favor. But sometimes you do have to get, like, a 70-30 right to win a game, and he just got them all wrong. Or like a 30-70, like, not in your favor. Sometimes you have to get one of those right, and he just got them all wrong, unfortunately, like with his bundle and stuff. And he just didn't have the Pokemon at the end. Like, Rotom had a pretty good position at the end, because Metal didn't necessarily have, like, the moves. Like, I think his Terrapagos was completely walled by Rotom, but G-Char just didn't have, like, the life left, the Mons left to really get into that position with his Rotom. So that was very unfortunate for sure. But he used Crowned well so far. The game against Mary was very, very close. I thought he had a pretty decent chance to win that one, maybe. I'm really interested in for this last week against Woopers. That'll be because I think he's gonna make playoffs pretty much no matter what. Like even if he got too good of a position from Bandito. Even if he gets 6-0'd, 4-4 plus 3, I imagine is enough to make it because of where the differential is for a lot of those 3 and 4 teams. So, but this last game against Wooper, I'm very interested to see how he how he does, because I think that sets the tone for how I think he could do in playoffs. I think this team is pretty scary in playoffs. I think Terra Comfey and Terra Iron Crown are both good Pokemon. I think Moltres is very underrated. I think it's good. I'm a big Donphan fan. Obviously, Waterpon I've advocated as being very strong. I think Bundle might be a weak point on this team. Bundles, from what I've seen, I've never actually used it myself, but from what I've seen, it's a predict Pokemon. You got to get turns right. Or you just flip turn. If you're a flip bot, it means you're clicking. You have heavy duty boots usually, and if you're having heavy duty boots, it means you're not like specs to do more damage. And if you're not specs, it usually bundles a little too weak in my opinion. So I think that might be a bit of a weak point. Terrakion might be a bit of a weak point, but I do like Rotom. I think Braviary is a bit underrated. So there's a whole bunch of real Pokemon on this team. I do think this team is solid in foundation at least. And I do think G-Shar is a pretty strong player for this Stargazer division. He's played all his games close at the very least. I'm really interested in this Woopers games to kind of set the tone for playoffs. What do you think, Sal?
Yeah, I want to see the Woopers game too. I would probably honestly flip Jichar and Wooper where they are. I think that everyone, I mean, I think Ben has seen more of this gentleman's games than I have, so I can only go on what I've seen. And I would say that the 3 people we just talked about in the last fight probably have a better chance to win, only because I think the team is fine, and I love Crown, and I think if you use Bundle as just like a pure revenge killer, I think it has a lot of value. And Waterpon is OP, right? So like he has a lot of things that can easily cheese wins, like the Crown cheese to win. You could always cheese something out with the basic Orgerpon water set. I think I just got to see more to put him above the like 2, especially the 2 people we just talked about, Oranges and Mary. Even though his team probably has the potential to be a little bit better, I gotta see something, especially because he's coming off 2 L's. I gotta see something this week. We'll find it. If something's different in the playoff video, I'll say it. But I think I would move my man here back to like 7.
Yeah, I do think that's fair. I've seen more of G-Shar, so I do believe him in a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think he's a pretty strong player overall. But I am very interested in this Week 8 game. I think it'll tell us a lot about like his position in terms of, because another reason he's this high, I'm pretty positive he's guaranteed playoffs. Like it's impossible for him to miss, unlike Woopers and unlike Oranges. So I'm interested. I think Mary might be guaranteed. Go back to Mary for a second. I want to see her differential. Yeah, I think Mary's guaranteed too. But I'm interested to see for sure. I think we can move on to. But I do think his team's actively better than Mary's.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we got myself at 3 here with the Alabama Alakazams. The team hasn't changed. It's still standard rain, but now I've got 2 losses. I don't think I had any losses the last time we did this. I think it was 2 pretty tough matchups for Rain. I think that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. You run into matchups that you can't really win. I thought I brought a pretty horrible team into Garden City, in my opinion. Really, for being Rain, really defensive. I was just not doing any damage at all. In particular, I couldn't kill Terra Heatran. Like, I had no way to put pressure on it. And then against Saudas, I do think I win that Saudas game if I don't get burned on the Palafin turn. Because I played that game conditioning to get Palafin in on, what's it called, Sinistra, and basically gambling with a 20% burn chance. But I thought the matchup was so bad that I was willing to take that chance, and I just didn't. I got burned. by Machigacha. Sometimes that happens. It's a 20% chance. You take the risk and you live with it if it happens to you. In all the mocks, I never got burned, and then in the actual game, I got burned. So that's rough. But I do think it was two not great matchups, and then I think I got a much more favorable matchup against Valiants. He didn't bring the right team, but I still I saw the team he was gonna bring. Even if he brought that team, I mean, I thought the chances of maybe the diff would be better. I thought the chances of him, I think Barraskewda still 2-hit KO'd every single Pokemon that was in the game, so it was almost impossible matchup for Valiants in my opinion. It's still Rain. It's still a really solid team. The diff is good. The record's good. I really would like to win this last game this week to get the 1 seed and secure the 1 seed so that I can pick who I play round 1 in the playoffs. I think that would be a massive advantage for me to be able to pick who I play because Rain is so matchup dependent. So I think this last week is very important for me. But the team hasn't changed at all. I still think it's about as good as Rain can be. Really what I've learned this season is a few things. Palafin, I used to think it was like insane. Now I think it's still really good, but limited in the way it can succeed. I used to think you could just run Bandit every week. Maybe it's because I've run into like 3 water absorb teams and like a Sinistra and then a team with like 2 grasses and a Lomomola or something like that. You can't run Bandit every week. Maybe I do think running into like 3 water absorb teams has something to do with that, because I did run Bandit last week and it felt pretty strong, even though it didn't come out. I do think like against certain teams, Bandit is like so overwhelmingly strong. I do think Barraskewda is absurd. I think it's an absurd Pokemon. Borderline Terra bannable. I think some teams. Yeah, it's not necessarily broken, because sometimes, like against certain teams, it can just be bad. But against some teams, it warps the matchup so heavily that it just completely trounces all chances of the opponent winning if you just play it okay. Like, if you just play it decently, it just completely trounces any ability for the opponent to do anything. And then Archaludon is like a Pokemon that I thought was mid to straight up bad before. Now I think it's decent. I think it's like okay. I've gone from a big hater to like now I think it's usable. I understand why people would use it in Rain. Outside of Rain, I don't know. And then also Overquill I think is very good. I already thought Overquill was good. Now I think like with Rain offensively it's very strong. Dark Poison's very strong, and like +2 Life Orb Gunk Shots are like very difficult to switch into. And then I already knew Zapdos was good. So, overall, it's Rain. It's pretty standard. What do you think, Za? I think it's gone probably about how you'd expect so far this season.
Yeah, I'll touch on a couple of things. So the Palafin thing, after watching it, I actively think that Palafin on a Rain team might make it worse rather than better. I think if you built a team more around the pivoting aspect, I think that's when it really works with mostly using the Bandit set. I think having the option and making people have to prep for it helps in the building phase, but I genuinely don't know that it actually makes, like, it being on a Rain team makes the team or Palafin itself better, or not as, like, it's the same. It reminds me of the Chi-Yu Sun thing. It should work, but it just doesn't, because it wastes the turns.
Yeah, the main thing is on Rain, you can't really waste turns, and you have to swap the Palafin out, and that matters a lot more on Rain, it feels. So that could be a big issue for it.
Yeah. So I feel like that's probably part of what you were feeling. And then I think my analysis of, like, and this is more of we'll talk more about this in the playoff thing. I think Natty should win, but I would pick Ben to win if I knew he didn't have to play Chimps. I don't think that if both players are of roughly equal skill and the builds make sense, I think Chimp should win like 90 times out of 100 this matchup. And that's not it's just the way it is. It's on preview. So because of that, I think this is where Alabama should be. If it wasn't for that one thing, and if Chimps goes out in the first round, I think Ben will probably win. That would be my guess based on knowing everybody and seeing the teams. But that Chimps matchup is tough, and he's going to be in there, and he, in theory, is one of the better players. He should be there on the way.
I do think I almost had that game again if I don't get burned.
Yeah.
I think the Palafin was
Yeah.
correct. I think I had the
Yeah.
right set.
Yeah. It definitely can happen. I'm saying if Chimps brings the right build, like he brings his best build, I think he should probably win almost every time. Now he still has to figure it out. I'm not going to tell him what it is, but if he figures it out, he has the guys to do it.
Those mocks were really rough. Those were tough.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I think that no one else like the Oranges has some anti-rain tech, but it's not like some hard wall. Like there's no team super teched well to beat this, and half the teams are just going to lose on preview.
Orange's anti-rain is the fact that she has 3 waters and 2 electrics and 2 grasses, and eventually just having that overwhelming type advantage does hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like
But I think I would probably have this second. I think I would have this second, but I see why it would be third, just because there seems to be a wall in the way that's almost outside the player's control fully. But again, the other player has to play well and bring the right team, so it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I've been liking the team. I really like. I mean, I'd like your opinion on Barraskewda. I think Barraskewda is so overwhelmingly good.
If people remember, I played like a relatively similar version to this team, except I wanted treads and didn't get it. Even though it looks like it's not doing anything, it is. It's doing what it needs. It's very important.
It's very important for getting in and getting rocks up and making sure that, like, telling people not to put hazard stack me, or at least trying to stop them from hazard stacking me, and then also being a sack. It's very important. Treads is incredibly important on this team.
Yeah, so like when I wanted to build this team, I wanted Terapagos or Treads, and I missed on both. I think Terapagos, like on this same team on Weather, is actually really. I mean, other than the fact it's busted in and of itself. But Barraskewda is like Floatzel was almost the kill leader in the season I had this, and Barraskewda is so much better because it doesn't kill itself. If Barraskewda, yes, its stats are actually better just in a vacuum, but the big difference is the fact it doesn't have Wave Crash is actually good because you're not tempted to run it, and you don't just kill yourself and have a limited amount of attacks, and you don't need the extra power because your attack is higher and you have better base speed. So I think because of those facts, it's so superior to what it does to anything else that like.
There was no Swift Swimmer better than they made the ultimate.
Not even close. No, it's not. There's nothing even close to it, and it has just enough coverage for it to work. It has just enough random moves for it to work.
CC, Poison Jab, Psychic Fangs is massive in my opinion. And then obviously Flip Turn was so huge for it. I think Flip Turn was well, what was Flip Turn made? Was that Gen 8?
I think it was 8. Yeah.
Flip Turn might have been made for this Pokemon. I'm not positive, but I think Flip Turn. I think Flip Turn might have been made for this guy. I wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, I think Barraskewda is just overwhelmingly good. And then like Archaludon. I mean, I bring it a lot, Archaludon, so that means something, right? If I bring it, like almost.
I think it's not as easy to use as it seems like it should be, but it can do things.
Yeah. And then Amoonguss, I'm also, even though it's 1 in 3, I'm positive on Amoonguss. I think it's good. I think it's better than people give it credit for. It's done its job most of the time. In that Oranges game, it was the only Pokemon that I liked what it did. That Oranges game, it was the only Pokemon that actually did something. So yeah, I'm positive on Amoonguss overall. I think it's you don't expect Amoonguss to get a lot of kills. It does what it's supposed to do. Mienshao has yet to hit the field. I just haven't. It's hard to slot it in on one of the teams for rain because you feel like there's a lot of things you got to bring every week. Someday. All right, we can move on to number 2. I've got the Saudas Chimps here. I think Saudas has been really, really good this entire season. I really like the team. His win against Crown Point week 5, really solid. His win against me, really close, really good game. Super solid. I do think, like I'll keep saying it, I do think my chances of winning are very high if he doesn't burn me with Machigacha. But he did get the burn, and I think the play overall was like really solid. He had a good plan with his like Landorus and his King Gambit in the back. And he had a Banded Infernape, which I did not expect. I did not expect the Banded Infernape, but it makes sense in retrospect because I don't have a Ghost, so he thought he could just spam CC for free, so I understand why he did it. And obviously the Water Absorb Arachnid. I did expect that. I thought that was pretty obviously coming. And it worked. It had Mirror Coat, and it killed my Pelipper. So really good play there. And then obviously Raikou. I think Terra Raikou is like terroristic into rain. It's really, really difficult for me to deal with. Even without Terra, Raikou's like kind of fat for an electric type, so it makes it very difficult for me to kill it, and it can kind of just come in, and it's so fast, it's really, really hard for me to be able to deal with the Raikou without having to sack like 1.5 guys. Like I kind of have to sack 1.5 guys to deal with Raikou off rip on Terra Preview. But yeah, everyone's kind of eating. If you look at the kill distribution, the kills are pretty evenly distributed. Raikou is the standout. It's super solid for sure. It's only died once. I think that only time it died was that game against me. And then this last week against Tottenham, if he won this game, he'd be number 1 for sure, because I think he's been proven to be the most consistent player with the most consistent team so far this season. But I think he played pretty odd at the end. I think even to get into the position to choke, I thought he was like choking. And then in the position with Hatterene against Meowscarada, I think if he just spams Draining Kiss, he has like over a 50% chance to win based on the math. And he didn't click Draining Kiss. He swapped out to Arachnid, which like 100% guaranteed the loss because Flower Trick 2 KO'd, and then he went back to Hatterene and died again to what's it called? Flower Tricks, and he didn't even Draining Kiss again. So I think it was a pretty odd series of events, if I'm being honest. The reason he's at number 2 is because I do think he did choke. I don't know if you went and actually watched that game back again yet, Za. You can tell me what you think, but I do think he choked that end game. So that's why I have him at 2. I don't know if you went and watched that.
Yeah, I saw it. I mean, I feel like he probably should win, but it's like you mentioned earlier. It's not like it was guaranteed. But I don't. I would have Chimps 1. I think that they have. If I had to bet money on somebody, just based on everything I've seen, I think I would have to put it on Chimps, just based on certain matchups. And then, like, he was almost undefeated last season too, so
Yeah,
he's
he went
barely
7-1.
lost any. Yeah, he's barely lost any games. I mean, I don't think, and also the thing is, last season and this season, I don't think his team is really that, like, it's not bad, but this isn't some overwhelming team. Like, he's just winning because he's playing better and he's building the team better. So that's consistent and can travel, right? But, like we talked about, Terra Lando is really just having the Landorus and having a Terra on it, even if you have no plans on using it, is such a mind, you know what, to the other guy. Like, if you just put flying on it and they're like, well, I have to prepare for this or I just get swept by Scarf Flying Landorus. So, but it is kind of and we're seeing like Gambit is still a threat. People acting like King Gambit is bad in draft. It's not. Like, it's just nobody drafts it, so you never get to see what it actually can do. It actually has quite a few good sets. But yeah, it was an unfortunate makeup. We've all had a game like that we lose for not for no reason, but we know we should have won. It has better now than in the playoffs. So I would probably have Chimps 1, and barring this last week with Natty, who I will pick Natty. I will pick you if you win. But right now, I think if you'd have to bet on Chimps at this point. I think.
I agree. I think even though I put him at 2, I would still bet on Chimps to win this thing. I think if we can go back to the very first video, I think I bet on Chimps to win this season at the very, very beginning. I think the team's just solid, and I think he's easily one of, if not the best player in the division. So that helps a lot. And I also think, he has pretty favorable matchup against a lot of the other top seeds as well.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can move on to number 1, where I've put the Orlando Magikarp after he received a victory in the form of a forfeit win. So he's got a really high differential. He had a really solid start to the season. He's dominated quite a few opponents. He had a very close loss to the Blackthorn Crashers. I still really like his team. I really loved the bulk up Tornadus that he had a few weeks back. I think week 5. I thought that set was really, really cool. He's got Jirachi now. That's new, actually, since the last time we talked about this, I'm pretty sure. Or at least I don't remember the Jirachi. So that's a pretty solid Pokemon. He's got Terragarg. He brings Terragarg way more than Terrachi, which I think is probably better. Because I think you could just bring regular Chi-Yu, and then if you need a roll, like, on some turn, like, this is how I would play Terrachi, is I would have it on a stab, and then I'd have a other Pokemon that's going to be Terra 100% of the time, or like 90% of the time, I mean. And you plan the whole game around terroring that, and then if in game, to get like a massive advantage, you need a roll on something to kill it, you terror the Chi-Yu in like an opportune time, then I think that's okay. So I do think this is the correct way to do it, where you have one guy you plan on terroring a vast majority of the time. I think this is the best Torn has ever performed KD-wise in a season in PBO history, if I had to guess. That game against Tottenham really helps. 12-2 is pretty insane for a Torn. Torn's usually like a pivot piece. He's been doing a really nice job of using it offensively. All his top guys are just doing insanely well, because all his, like, he's using his pieces exactly how he wants to use them. He goes in with a plan and he executes it, and it's been executing really well, because like all his bottom pieces, the Bronzong and the Fenzandipiti, he brings them, but they never get any kills because he doesn't want them to. He always funnels the kills to his top, 4-ish guys, which makes complete sense because that's what he's planning around. He's got a bunch of real guys. I even think Dusclops is real for like a low tier. I do think Gudra Hisui is like not a good steel type, but because you have Bronzong, that really helps. I've just been really impressed. In all the games he wins, he's looked super commanding in victory. The Blackthorn Crashers game, that's a decently bad loss. That's probably the biggest quote-unquote blemish, I'd say. What do you think, Za?
Okay, this is where I bring out the second hot take, and I take no pleasure in saying this. I think this is a bit fraudulent. I think that this is a bit of a fraudulent season. And I think, I don't think that Orlando has as good of a chance to win as like 4 or 5 people that we've talked about so far. And that doesn't even have anything to do. Part of it, I think, has to do with, I don't know if the things he's done in his wins he can do in the playoff games. You ever seen a sports team? Remember when the Hawks won 60 games, but you knew they had no chance of beating LeBron? That's just a feeling I get about this. That, like, I just don't know that you can do some of these things against the people that he has yet to play. So, like, that Gray, I don't remember exactly what happened in the Gray game, but that's what I'm talking about, is you play somebody like Gray, and even though Gray has an objectively worse team than this, they'll figure out a way to get around some of these things that are kind of cooking the other guys, right? So what we see on this list, like, that was not Wooper's team now. That was the old Wooper's team, which was very middling, right? And Garden City, they didn't really play. Jichar was Bandito at that time, but that was still like a playoff-ish team. It was looking like a playoff team. So other than Tottenham right now, at the time, he hasn't really played the competition. So I would have, I think, Orlando 3, because you can't dispute what he's done, and Nico is good. So, but it's a way I get watching the games that this team really isn't prepared for, like, high-level playoff games, in my opinion, if that makes sense to everyone.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. Like, the schedule hasn't been the best. I do think he's been overwhelmingly good against, like, he's beaten the people he's supposed to beat badly. You know what I mean? So yeah. You can't hold it against him too much. It's not like these games are super close.
Yeah.
I think
that's just what my gut says. That's just what my gut says. Prove me wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I like Nico. I hope he wins. That's what my gut tells me.
I do think Saudas might have a better chance of winning. Saudas is still my pick to win the championship, but I think Nico can come up with something on any given week to win the week. I like Nico a lot, and he's a good player.
Yeah.
It was really Scizor that did him in, honestly. this game again. He had a bad Terra choice on Garg because it lost to CC Scizor.
Does he steal?
Yeah, he was Steel. I think the steal was for Scizor, so I think he just forgot that it got CC.
Yeah. Tough times.
Yeah, but overall, I want to see him unlock this Chi-Yu more. He hasn't had, or it says this was done week 3. I doubt that, because was this done that long ago? If this was done that long ago, I've seen Chi-Yu once maybe, because I think
it says it's been in 3 games. It's got 1 kill.
Well, I think Mad Mac, because I think this counts games from other people. I think Mad Mac brought it to 2 games, so I think maybe he brought it to 1 game. Terra Chi-Yu is a ton of points. If I had anything to comment on, I would say find a way to bring Chi-Yu. It doesn't have to be Terra. Find a way to use it in some way, though. Like Chi-Yu, I think, is getting a little bit underrated. It has a lot of haters for some reason now. It's still valuable. I had it one season. I thought it was very good. It can be overwhelmingly strong. It really, you know, you just got to position around it. You need a lot of flippers or U-turners, and you have, you know, some Hammerot and Fezandipiti and Torn, some of the better ones. And you have the hazard stacking to really help it. I think you do have a team that could enable Chi-Yu, even if it's not Terra. You just have to bring it and use it. Would be my recommendation. I think if you do that and you unlock that aspect going into playoffs, you could be very, very threatening. Because I know you love Terra Garg, but don't become so predictable that you bring Terra Garg every week, especially in these playoff games, would be my warning. Like, don't bring like the setup Terra Garg every week, or I think you might get trounced trying to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think with that, we can call it there. Pretty interesting playoff situation going on. Games to really look out for: Tottenham versus Valiants, Woopers versus G-Shar, me versus Gray, and the Blackthorn City Crashers, Orges versus Flygons. Those 4 are super important. The Hallownest versus Orlando doesn't really matter. Lopunnies versus Cetitans doesn't matter too much. And Lion City versus Chimps, I don't think that one matters that much either. But those other 4 games, super important for playoff implications. In particularly, me versus Gray, Vancouver versus Tottenham. Those ones are like very, very important, I think, for like the last slot there. And if I had to narrow it down to 1, Tottenham versus Valiants is like literally like those 2 are fighting for their life in a playoff spot. Because Tottenham's is 4-3. His diff is atrocious. It's like -9 or something crazy like that. So he needs to win. He needs the 5-3 record to make playoffs. All right. Do we want to? I mean, I think we both already said it. We both think Saudas has the best chance to win the chip. I think
so. Yeah.
I think so. We have another, you know, new champion, and I think I would guess Saudas if I had to guess.
I will say though, I'm going on record. If Woopers wins this week more than 2-0, I'll pick Woopers to win. More than 2-0.
It would take a lot for me not to pick Saudas. Saudas would have to get really badly beaten down this week against Lion City. If Saudas gets like thoroughly outplayed in like 6-0 or something,
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I'll pick someone else.
Hey, Mamoswine 6-0s this team. Just saying.
Mamoswine's 6-0s every team. Mamoswine's just so good. It actually doesn't. Araquanid beats Mamoswine.
It's just Araquanid. No, we got big freeze dry.
Freeze dry, you have to be Stone Edge. Freeze dry is like 10%. Araquanid's Spidef is like 130.
We got Endeavor Ice Shard when we're low.
Yeah, Araquanid's like one of the only Pokemon that resists both stabs, actually.
Yeah.
Alright, I think we can call it there. Thank you for watching, PBO Nation. This will probably be the last power ranking of this season, but we'll have a playoff situation like video probably after next week. So see you there. Peace.